Empire of Desire. A short love story written by Gwyneth. The story blends themes of power, vulnerability, and the transformative power of love amidst the cutthroat world of business and societal expectations. Barry Reese stood like a god in his glass temple, high above the mortals below. The city's pulse beat against his penthouse windows, a never-ending soundtrack to his life of conquests. With every fiber of his tailored suit's screaming power, he gazed down at the twinkling skyline, another kingdom to rule, another deal to dominate. Tonight, he murmured to his reflection, a smug half-smile playing on his lips, they will know what hit them. Meanwhile, across town in an office that breathed success with every polished surface, Jewel Jordan was plotting her next move. Her laptop glowed in the dim light, casting shadows over her determined face. She tapped a manicured nail on the mahogany desk, tap, 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 a rhythmic war drum heralding her advance in the corporate battlefield. "Let's shake them up," she whispered to no one in particular, her eyes alight with fierce ambition. The night unfurled like a red carpet when Barry stepped into the gala. His sharp gaze cut through the crowd, sizing up potential allies and adversaries alike. Then she walked in, Jewel Jordan, a vision in crimson, undeterred by the sea of tuxedos and gowns. Who is she? Barry mused, not one for mysteries, but willing to make an exception. Their eyes met, and the room fell away to silence. It was electric, this pull between them, defying every rule in the tycoon's playbook. "Mr. Reese," Jewel's voice cut through the tension, cool as the champagne in her hand, "care to dance?" "Miss Jordan," he replied, the irony not lost on him, "I thought you'd never ask." They moved together, two forces of nature disguised in human form. Whispers spread like wildfire, but they were in a world of their own, locked in a dance more intimate than any boardroom negotiation. "Didn't peg you for a man who followed," Jewel teased, her breath warm against his ear. "Didn't peg you for a woman who led," Barry shot back, his hand firm on her waist. Heat. That's what it was. Their bodies spoke a language older than words, igniting something primal within. And when they stumbled into the shadows, it wasn't lust that fueled them, but the thrill of finding an equal. "Damn it," Barry gasped as Jewel pressed him against the wall, their mouths hungry for answers they hadn't known they'd been asking. "Shut up," she commanded, and for once, he did. Later, clothes disheveled and senses reeling, they faced each other with the stark realization that this was no ordinary fling. Barry Reese doesn't do complications, he reminded himself, his mantra failing him for the first time. Jewel Jordan doesn't do romance, she countered, her certainty shaken. But as they parted, their silent promise hung in the air. This was only the beginning. Barry Reese didn't do distractions. Not until Jewel Jordan, anyway. He paced the length of his office, a room that screamed power with its mahogany desk and skyline views. But damn it, even the city lights seemed dim compared to the memory of her. "Vincent," Barry barked into his phone, "I need to see you." "Another acquisition?" Vincent's voice was smooth as aged whiskey, betraying nothing. "Something like that," Barry replied, his mind replaying Jewel's laughter, fierce and unapologetic. Minutes later, Vincent Blackwood strolled in, the epitome of unruffled charm. Barry envied that nonchalance, now more than ever. "Spell it," Vincent commanded, sinking into a leather chair like he owned it. "It's Jewel," Barry confessed, running a hand through his hair. A rare moment of disarray. "Ah, the enchanting Miss Jordan," Vincent mused. "Didn't take you for romantic." "Romantic? Hell no." Barry's denial came out too fast, too sharp. "But there's something. Something like a complication." Vincent arched an eyebrow. "Complication," Barry echoed. The word tasted like defeat, but also like possibility, a dangerous combination. "Advice?" Barry hated asking, hated the vulnerability. "Simple," Vincent said, standing. "Pursue her, conquer the complications." "Conquer," Barry repeated, the idea rooting itself deep within him. It was what he did best, after all. "Be warned, though," Vincent added, his tone turning serious. "Gerald won't approve." "Since when do I seek approval?" Barry's laugh was hollow, bouncing off the walls of his empire. "Since never," Vincent agreed. "But this is personal, not business." "Is there a difference?" Barry asked, knowing full well there was, especially where Jewel was involved. Only one way to find out. Vincent left him with that thought, disappearing as smoothly as he had arrived. The challenge settled over Barry like a second skin. He'd scale the peaks of Wall Street without a second breath. Jewel Jordan wouldn't be any different. Or so he told himself. "Jewel, darling," Rosalind's voice cut through the line. "We need to talk." "Mother," Jewel greeted, her tone guarded. She knew that tone, braced for impact. "Barry Reese," Rosalind stated, and Jewel could picture the disapproving purse of her lips. "He's not suitable?" Jewel offered, sarcasm lacing her words. "Exactly." Rosalind's reply was crisp. "He's a shark, Jewel, a charming one, no less." "Charming sharks are my favorite," Jewel retorted, heart racing a traitorous beat. "Jewel," her mother sighed, a sound steeped in years of estrangement and regret. "Please, be careful." "Careful is boring," Jewel fired back, but her grip on the phone tightened. Rosalind's warnings echoed Gerald's own. Warnings meant to shield, to protect. "Promise me," Rosalind pleaded. "Promises are dangerous," Jewel whispered, wondering if Barry Reese was worth the risk. "Especially ones made in the dark," her mother agreed, a whisper of shared understanding passing between them before the line went dead. Jewel stared at the silent phone, the weight of her mother's words heavy in her chest. Barry Reese didn't do promises either, she was sure of it. But maybe, just maybe, they could navigate the minefield of their lives together. "Damn complications," Jewel muttered, setting the phone down. Damn them indeed, she decided, her mind already plotting her next move. Barry paced his penthouse, the city's lights a distant glitter below. He stopped at the grand window, stared out. The reflection showed a man in control. A facade. "Spit it up, Barry," Marion snapped from the leather sofa, her tone dripping with impatience. "You look like you're about to announce Armageddon." He turned, faced her. "It's Jewel," he said, the words heavy, reluctant. "Ah," the enigma wrapped in a riddle, Marion quipped, her smirk not quite reaching her eyes. "What about her?" "Something's there," Barry admitted. "More than I expected, more than I'd ever dealt with," she supplied, arching an eyebrow. "Welcome to humanity, dear brother." "Thanks," he drawled, sarcasm his shield. "I needed that." "Anytime." Marion rose, approached him. "Bay, if she matters, fight for her. Just remember, love's a battlefield, not a boardroom." "War paint on," he mused, a half smile breaking through. "Good man." Across town, Jewel sat in Elijah's loft, surrounded by canvases and the scent of oil paint. Elijah handed her a glass of red wine, his gaze soft. "Talk to me," he urged. "Barry Reese," she began swirling the wine. "He's complicated." "Most puzzles are," Elijah said, settling beside her. "But you're no simple Sudoku yourself, Jewel." "Ha," she exhaled, a wisp of laughter. "True." "Scared?" he prodded gently. "Terrified," she confessed. "It's like he sees right through me." "Maybe that's not so bad," Elijah suggested. "Being seen, really seen, can be powerful." "Or disastrous," she countered, meeting his knowing eyes. "Perhaps," he conceded. "But you're not one to run from a challenge." "Never have been," she affirmed, her resolve hardening. Days turned to weeks, and the chessboard of their relationship saw Barry and Jewel navigating a maze of emotions. Laughter echoed in Barry's penthouse, a sound foreign but welcome. They lounged on his couch, a bottle of whiskey between them, barriers dissolving with each shared secret. "Never pictured myself here," Barry confessed, gesturing vaguely. Here isn't, Jewel prompted, head tilted. Vulnerable, he finished, the word tasting strange. Welcome to my world, Jewel quipped, her smile genuine. It's messy but real. Real, Barry repeated, rolling the concept around. I like it. Me too, she agreed, leaning in closer. Their connection deepened, roots intertwining beneath the surface. Touches lingered, gazes held meaning. In those moments, titles and empires faded, leaving only two souls learning the steps to a dance neither had expected to perform. Scared? Barry asked one night, his voice low. Every day, Jewel replied, her honesty raw. Good, he said, pulling her into his arms. Means it's worth something. Everything, she whispered back, believing it. Barry Reese leaned against the cold marble of his penthouse's floor-to-ceiling windows, a glass of scotch in hand. Below, the city sprawled like a kingdom at his feet, indifferent to the storm brewing within its concrete walls. Jealousy is a disease, he muttered to himself, watching the ice cubes collide with a soft clink. Care to elaborate? Or should I just nod along? Jewel Jordan lounged across the room, her legs draped over the arm of a leather chair, a wry smile playing on her lips. Carla DuPont, Barry said, the name leaving a bitter taste. She's stirring the pot, spreading rumors. Rumors? Jewel arched an eyebrow, interest piqued. About us, our pasts. He looked away, tension creasing his forehead. Ah, she nodded, unfazed. The X Factor and the Media Vulture Tag Team Classic. Isabella Scott's digging too deep, he added, voice hard as granite. Into your family secrets. Let her dig, Jewel's tone was steel wrapped in velvet. She won't find skeletons, only ghosts. Can't let them win, Barry said, determination etching his features. Winning isn't their game, Jewel corrected him. It's breaking us, that's their end game. Strategy then, Barry concluded, swirling the liquid gold in his glass before setting it aside with a decisive thought. We need a strategy. Enlist Vincent, Elijah, Jewel suggested, standing up and stretching like a cat primed for a prowl. They know how to play dirty, too. Fight fire with a wildfire, Barry agreed, a plan taking shape in his agile mind. Smart and sexy, Jewel quipped, crossing the room to peer over his shoulder. Dangerous combo. Tell me about it, Barry replied, a smirk tugging at the corner of his mouth. First step, Jewel started, tapping a finger against her chin thoughtfully. Gather evidence. What do we have? Vince has got context, Barry offered, his gaze now sharp as flint. Elijah has the tech skills. Good, she nodded. And I've got charm and wit, a formidable arsenal. Never doubted it, Barry said, his admiration for her evident even in the midst of crisis. Meet tonight, Jewel decided, grabbing her phone. Plot our counterattack. War room at my place, Barry confirmed, already texting Vincent. Game on, Jewel declared, a predatory grin spreading across her face. Game on, Barry echoed, feeling the thrill of the impending battle ignite something within him. Barry's phone buzzed incessantly, a relentless vibration that echoed the turmoil brewing inside him. His fingers moved with mechanical precision to swipe the screen, unveiling the text that would detonate his world. An image of Jewel's youthful face splashed across the front page of Isabella Scott's latest exposé. Scandal in High Society, the untold story of Jewel Jordan, the headline screamed. Damn it, he muttered under his breath, the words slicing through the silence of his penthouse. Luxurious though it was, the opulence seemed to mock him now, offering no refuge from the impending storm. The door swung open with dramatic flair, admitting Carla DuPont into his sanctuary uninvited. Her platinum hair cascaded over her shoulders, a facade of innocence betrayed by the calculated glint in her eyes. Barry, she cooed, a serpentine smile unfurling on her lips. I see you've read Isabella's little piece. Cut the crap, Carla. Barry's voice was a low growl, his posture rigid with barely contained anger. What do you want? Only to give you the full picture, she purred, sauntering forward and flourishing a manila envelope like a magician, revealing the final act. Consider this a supplement to Isabella's work. His jaw clenched as he snatched the envelope from her grip, tearing it open with a ferocity that matched the racing of his heart. Photographs, documents, pieces of Jules' past laid bare in cruel detail. Her father, not so prestigious after all, a gambler, a disgrace, Carla whispered, venom dripping from each syllable. Get out, he spat, the words barely more than a hiss. But she simply laughed, the sound harsh and hollow against the marble floors. Think carefully, Betty. This is your empire at stake, she taunted before sweeping out, leaving a silence more oppressive than her presence. Alone, Barry slumped into the leather chair, the papers strewn about like fragments of the life he thought he knew. He ran a hand down his face, the stubble scratching at his palm. This was a chessboard with hearts for pawns. Betty. The voice was soft, but carried the weight of the world. Jewel. She stood at the threshold, her eyes searching his. Isabella's article, he began, but Jewel shook her head, her own hands trembling as she held up a slip of paper. More important, she said, her voice quivering. I'm pregnant. Time stopped. The two revelations collided in his mind, a chaotic symphony that drowned out reason. Yours, she added, a vulnerability seeping into her usually unwavering tone. Christ, Jewel. Barry's voice cracked, his calculated exterior crumbling. A child. Their child. He rose, crossing the room in 3 long strides to envelop her in his arms. Her body melded to his, a perfect fit in the imperfect storm. Betty, H, he soothed, pressing his lips to her forehead. We'll figure this out. Figure what out? Her eyes met his, fierce even through the fear. How to survive the scandal or how to be parents? Both, he affirmed, the fight reigniting in his chest. We're in this together. Against the world, she challenged, half smirk, half sneer playing on her lips. Against the damn universe if we have to. Barry's response was a promise, wrapped in determination and sealed with a kiss that spoke of battles yet to come. Jewel's heels clicked like a metronome against the marble floor, each step echoing her racing heart. She paused at the door to Rosalind's study, the ornate wood looming like a gatekeeper to truths long buried. Without knocking, she pushed it open. Mother, Jewel's voice sliced through the silence, we need to talk. Rosalind sat behind her mahogany desk, the very picture of composure. Yet, her eyes betrayed a flicker of apprehension. Isabella's article, she started, but Jewel cut her off with a wave of her hand. Save it. I'm here for the unedited version. Jewel's stance was unwavering, her shadow cast long by the afternoon sun streaming in through the window. Rosalind sighed, her fingers tenting together, as if to brace against the impending storm. Your father, he wasn't who he pretended he was, a charmer, yes, but also a gambler, the debts, the lies. Stop dancing around it. Jewel leaned forward. Why did you keep this from me? Protection, she whispered, the word hanging heavy between them. I wanted to protect you from his vices, from my shame. Her voice trailed off, and for a moment, the steel in her gaze softened to sorrow. Great job, Jewel scoffed, sarcasm sharp as a knife. How the whole world knows anyway. Across town, Barry paced his office, the cityscape sprawling out beneath him like a kingdom under siege. He scrubbed a hand over his face, the buzz of his phone an unwelcome intruder. Father, Barry answered curtly, bracing for the usual sparring match. Barry, son, we need to discuss your priorities. Gerald's voice was stern, yet something new colored his tone. Was that concern? Let me guess, you think I should cut ties with Jewel? Barry's words were clipped, ready to defend his corner. Actually, no, Gerald surprised both of them. This child, it could be the making of you. Excuse me? Barry stopped mid-pace, suspicion narrowing his eyes. Life isn't just acquisitions and market shares, Gerald said, a rare note of wisdom threading through his advice. Sometimes, it's about taking a risk on someone worth more than profit margins. Never thought I'd hear you value anything over the Empire. Neither did I, Gerald admitted, a hint of regret coloring his confession. Barry hung up, his thoughts a whirlwind. Risk. Reward. Love tangled in power plays. He looked out at the sprawling city, life pulsing below, and made his choice. Barry's knuckles rapped against the mahogany door, a staccato beat that matched his thundering heart. He pushed the door open, stepping into the lioness den with Jules' hand clasped firmly in his own. Carla sat perched on a velvet chaise, the picture of elegance and venom. Isabella stood beside her, notepad at the ready, pen poised like a weapon. Carla, Isabella. Barry's voice was a low growl, each syllable dripping with barely contained fury. Game over. Barry, darling, Carla cooed, feigning innocence as she crossed her legs. The act didn't fool anyone. Whatever do you mean? Cut the crap. Jules' retort was ice, her stance unyielding beside him. We know everything. Allegations and rumors, Isabella chimed in, her smirk daring him to challenge her journalistic integrity. The public has a right to know. Rights? Barry snorted. Let's talk about wrongs, like fabricating stories for a hit job. Proof? Carla arched an eyebrow, her challenge hanging in the air, thick as the tension. Try this. Barry slapped a folder on the glass coffee table, papers spilling out like the guts of their deception. Photos, emails, all laying bare the scheme. Oops, Jewel quipped, the corner of her mouth twitching upwards. Manipulation, defamation. Barry ticked off their sins with pointed fingers. It ends now. Or what? Isabella's defiance had an edge of uncertainty now, her armor showing cracks. Or I let my lawyers loose, Barry promised, his words dark as storm clouds. They're salivating for this. Are you threatening us? Carla tried to regain her composure, but the tremor in her voice betrayed her. Consider it a promise, Jewel interjected, her solidarity steel-clad. Your move, Barry stared them down, the silence stretching taut as a wire. Fine. Carla's defeat was a hissed whisper, her glare frosty enough to chill champagne. Isabella simply nodded, her silence speaking volumes. Smart choice. Barry turned on his heel, Jules' presence a burning torch against the encroaching shadows. They exited the room, the door clicking shut with a satisfying finality. Stepping into the elevator, Barry finally allowed himself to exhale, the weight of battles waged and one settling around them like dust after a storm. Hey, Jewel nudged him gently, her eyes searching his. We did it, huh? Team effort, he conceded, a smile breaking through the clouds of his demeanor. Team Reese Jordan, she declared, a spark igniting in her gaze. Has a nice ring to it. His arm wound around her shoulders, pulling her close. Ready for the next adventure? Jewel tilted her head up, lips brushing his jawline in a tease of a kiss. Bring it on. Barry's chest swelled with unspoken vows. Parenthood. Partnership. Love in the trenches. First step? She asked, mischief dancing in her eyes. Baby-proof the penthouse, he replied, laughter bubbling from the depths of his newfound happiness. Sexy, she deadpanned, but her grin betrayed amusement. Life with me, baby. Barry leaned in, sealing their pact with a kiss that tasted of promise and rebellion. Together, they faced the descent back into the world they were reshaping, one floor at a time. Barry Reese gazed at the skyline, the city lights a lesser constellation beneath the stars. His penthouse, once a fortress of solitude, now echoed with laughter, a sound more precious than any deal he'd ever brokered. Stop hogging the view, Jewel teased, sauntering up with their cooing bundle of rebellion in her arms. Their daughter, a perfect blend of their defiance and love. Can't help it, Barry retorted. It's in the CEO manual, section 5, brooding over your empire. Uh-huh. Jewel rolled her eyes, a smile tugging at her lips. She settled beside him, the warmth of her shoulder against his, an anchor in the sea of life they navigated together. Remember when we thought board meetings were tough? he mused, watching as their daughter gripped his finger with the ferocity of a future titan. Ha! Jewel's laugh was a melody in the quiet room. Now, it's diaper negotiations and bedtime treaties. Who knew? Barry's voice softened. That our toughest negotiator would be 3 feet tall and obsessed with stuffed elephants. Speak for yourself, Jewel shot back. I always knew I'd be upstaged by someone cuter than you. Her grin was wicked, and he loved her all the more for it. Ouch, he feigned hurt, but the joy in his eyes betrayed him. Their gazes locked, a silent conversation passing between them, a mix of pride and wonder. Speaking of empires, Jewel shifted, her gaze taking on that familiar glint of business acumen. How's the merger coming? Smoothly, Barry replied, the thrill of the challenge evident even now. With your tech startup in the fold, we're unstoppable. Thought you'd say it. Jewel's hand found his, their fingers intertwining. We make a good team. Best there is, Barry agreed. The power couple of the century, some said. But to him, they were just Barry and Jewel. Partners. Lovers. Parents. Tomorrow, she whispered, her breath warm against his neck, we take over the world. Tonight, he murmured back, leaning closer, we take over each other. Promises, promises, Jewel challenged with a smirk. Never more serious in my life, Barry vowed, capturing her lips with a kiss that was a signature, sealing deals and hearts with equal fervor. Their child gurgled, breaking their moment with impeccable timing. They pulled apart, laughing, their empire momentarily forgotten in the face of drool and gummy smiles. Guess it's bedtime for the little CEO, Jewel said, standing with fluid grace. Boardroom to bedroom, Barry quipped, following her lead. Life's never been richer. Or more chaotic, Jewel added, heading towards the nursery where dreams awaited their crafting. Wouldn't have it any other way, Barry confirmed, falling into step beside her. Together, they crossed the threshold into the softly lit room, a sanctuary carved out of love and resilience. Barry watched as Jewel laid their daughter down, her touch gentle, her presence a promise. Good night, my heart, Jewel whispered, pressing a kiss to their child's forehead. Good night, my loves, Barry echoed, the words a pledge of forever woven into the fabric of their shared existence. They retreated, arm in arm, closing the door on one chapter, ready to pen the next in the story of Reese Jordan, a tale of passion, power, and the transformative magic of love. The end. I hope you enjoyed our love story for today. Please like, comment, share, and don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell for more update. Thank you.